going live in a moment. My apologies. One moment, I'm just going to put us on mute. So, Chair, we're now live on YouTube.
Hello there. Welcome to the Planning Committee meeting, Wincanton Town Council, on the 12th of April. Before we start, and as this isn't a full council meeting, but it's the nearest we have to the announcement of the Duke of Edinburgh's passing, I would like it if we could possibly partake in a minute's silence, please, if that's okay. Starting now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Public participation. I understand there are no members of the public who wish to speak at this meeting. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies. I don't have any apologies. I know who's not here, but I think we might have all we need anyway. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Does anybody here have any declarations of interest relating to any of the items on the agenda for the planning meeting?
No.
No. Okay. The item 3 is the minutes for the previous 2 planning meetings on the 8th of March and the 29th of March. And to approve those minutes, which to be signed at a later date. Has everybody seen these minutes? Yes. Does anybody have anything on either of those minutes from either of those dates? Well, I'd like to propose that we pass both of those meetings on the basis of their minutes on the 8th and the 29th of March. So I'm proposing that. Do I have a seconder? Okay, a seconder from Councillor Tudgay. Thank you very much. And that's for both sets of minutes, both meetings, the 8th and the 29th of March. On to item 4, which is the first of 3 planning applications.
Sorry.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Do we need to do a vote? Count a vote from
I beg your pardon. Yes, okay. We have, lucky you're here. We have votes to pass those minutes. We have Councillor Thomas, myself, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Walters, and Councillor Vagg. That is 5 votes. Thank you very much. Just for the record, Councillor Smith doesn't have voting rights, but is here as a council member. So yes, moving back to item 4 on the agenda, which is the first of 3 applications, planning applications. The first being application number 20. Hello, Mr. Councillor Tudgay.
In the absence of a clerk, is someone taking notes, Chair?
I did discuss this with Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, and we are hoping that the idea is for Muriel, the Deputy Town Clerk, to listen to the audio and watch the playback, if that's acceptable.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. It was a good point. So application number 20/03351/FUL is a full application for numbers 12 and 14 Mill Street, Wincanton. Is the refurbishment of 2 existing cottages, including some demolition and erection of 2-story rear extensions to both dwellings. These are, you probably know them better than I do. These are 2 small cottages on Mill Street, on the right-hand side as you go down. They've been unoccupied and effectively derelict for about 15 years. Number 14, which is further down the hill than 12, is a listed property. Both of them are in an awful state and need a complete refurbishment. I think the plan is to make them into better sized family homes. At the moment, they're very small, which means putting an extension onto the back of both of them. According to us, I'm looking at the application today, but using obviously sympathetic materials, matching the roof and the walls, and basically making them into just, sort of habitable housing. There are only 2 comments from local residents. One of them totally in favour, and another one broadly in favour, but worried about the parking, the sort of pressure on the parking on Mill Street, which would probably mean for 2 houses up to 4 cars, 2 to 4 cars extra. And in turn, what are district council going to do about the permit application for parking on Mill Street? But that's possibly another meeting. The other objection from that resident was that the gardens at the back, which are long and thin, number 14, which is the one further down the hill, will have a garden about half the length of number 12. And number 12 will have a sort of L-shaped garden, which will be wider and longer. At the end of the number 12's garden is a very large chestnut tree, which is about 17 meters high, which, according to a July 2019 tree inspection, said it was structurally weak and of low quality. The idea of the developer would like to knock that down, completely tear it down, on the grounds that it is unstable, but also because it causes a nuisance to locals and overhangs other people's gardens and drops leaves and shades them, etc., etc. The objection from the local resident is that without that tree and with the width of that garden being unequal to the house next door, there will be at some point room to build something else. That's his main concern. There is obviously no mention of that being a possibility in the application, and I don't suggest that's what they want to do, but this is what the neighbour is worried about. I don't think it was anything else. They've done an ecological survey, the existence of bats being their main concern, but there are no evidence of bats nesting there. I can't really see anything else, but if anyone else has any comments, then questions. Hello, Councillor Walters.
If the tree were removed and somebody did decide to put a dwelling on it, where would access points be?
Well, this is at the moment, their plan is to, I mean, you probably know where they are better than I do, but number 14 being lower down the hill abuts the alleyway into the social club. Yeah. So that's number 14 will not have its main entrance from the street. It will have an entrance down a little alleyway that it's got already, and it will go into its house that way. See what I mean? But there will be access from that alleyway into the back gardens.
Right.
They're going to change the face of that number 14, take a door away and put a window in instead. So that rather than have those 2 doors side by side, the one door will be to go down the alleyway into the back of the house. The other door will then become a window, which is in fact what's happened to number 12 next door. But if I don't know how these things work, but if you did build on the end of that garden on the right-hand side at the end of number 12, I suppose you could try and get access through that access road to the social club. I don't know whether that's a possibility. I don't know how these things would. Seems a bit tight, anyway.
Right, okay, thank you.
Councillor Vag?
I did look at buying a house down there on the left by the social club at one point. And one of the things I noticed is that at one point that was a graveyard. And there are therefore various graves down there. They might have difficulty getting access, because I think there might be graves to be moved.
Right.
And I don't know what the rules are against that. But that's not for now, that's another time.
Yeah. No, I don't know about that, but I did notice though, I did see a plan that had some graveyard on it. Councillor Smith, did you have your hand up? You did.
Yeah, I was just going to interject and say that my understanding, if I'm not mistaken, is that discussion of speculation on future planning applications is beyond the scope of this one.
Absolutely.
And therefore, we shouldn't actually be discussing it.
No, absolutely not. I agree with you. I was just reporting what the neighbour said in the objection bit of his comments.
Yeah. My only other thought is that with the parking thing, I'm struggling to work out what the options are, because short of consigning these properties to perpetual dereliction,
right?
It's a bit of a inevitability, isn't it? I mean, there needs to be some thought put into the solution, but I can't imagine someone saying, "Oh, we can't bring these buildings back to life because there's never going to be parking."
No, there is no such thing as a finite number of cars. I mean, and there will always be more cars and more houses. So, and if you are, either restoring or building houses, someone's going to have a car in that house, and that's just stuff I think councils across the country have to deal with. I don't think it's not a peculiar problem. But yes, I wouldn't have imagined that would stand in the way. Councillor Tudgate?
I'm broadly in favour of this application. Simply, as has been said, to bring two dwellings back into use can only be good. And if we get, brownfield sites and old dwellings brought back into use, then perhaps there won't be so many built out on the greenfield sites, So it would help ease the pressure there. I think we as a council should put some pressure on whoever it might be, whether it's SSDC or county, to consider what I believe some of the residents of Mill Street have wanted is a permitting system. I think that should be, some pressure should be put on that to look at that. The other question I have is, I assume that they have right of way over that alleyway to get to that entrance that they hope to put down the side. There doesn't, I've read the application, and unless I've missed it, there doesn't seem to be anything in the application about actual right of way over that alleyway.
No, I agree. I didn't actually say anywhere. It's rather sort of, I wouldn't say it's assumed, but it's
yes,
it's certainly features heavily in lots of the drawings, diagrams, and plans that that's what's going to happen. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that's the land belonging to the. Who owns the social club? Do you know? No.
No, I don't. Whether it's still owned by, it was an active church when I first came to town, or it had been an active church, and it was taken over by the Mill Street Social Club. Whether they actually own the property, I don't know.
Okay. Councillor Shelburne-Barrett.
I agree with Ray that putting two properties that currently are in disrepair into being livable again, and people can actually live in those and increase, within our town perimeter, is a good thing. My only concern is it's not for us, I suppose, to decide about the right of way, because that will happen because it's got to come out as part of the discussion. And whether or not they sell any land in the future is not in the scope of this conversation today. But what I do have concerns about, although I'm in principal agreement with the fact that both of these dwellings, it would be nice to see them made good again, is taking down a mature tree. I would like assurance that that tree is poor in terms of requiring to be removed. And if it is to be removed, I would like it replaced with similar broadleaf trees.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly what the neighbour had said in his objection. I think that was, if it's going to be pulled down, replace it, but does it in fact need to be pulled down at all? It doesn't say who carried out this report in 2019. So it's hard to say, but I think it is worth noting that we are interested to know if SSDC believe that it's also a structurally unsound tree, or it's diseased or whatever. So that we should probably put that in any decision we make this evening.
Yes.
Is there anything else? In which case, I am broadly in favour of this, and I would propose we accept this application with the proviso that there is more investigation carried out into the status of this tree and its health, and whether it's absolutely necessary for it to be pulled down. I don't know whether anyone else wants to second that or object. Second from Councillor Walters. Okay, was it? Yes, it was. Seconded by Councillor Waters. May I have a vote, please, on the acceptance of this application with the proviso that we can find out more about this tree? Okay, that's a vote in favour from Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Walters, and Councillor Tudgate. Okay.
I do think, though, in addition, I know it may be out of the scope of this application, but the point raised by Councillor Tudgate about Somerset County Council supporting the or moving forward the request for parking scheme along Mill Street is something that probably we should pick up through our car parking committee working group to ensure that we get an update on where that is. Unfortunately, COVID's probably slowed down any processes.
It was some time ago as well. I remember that when we discussed it, it was quite a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because there was quite a lot of momentum, and then it sort of died down a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm moving on to item 4B, another application 21/00638, listed building consent, applying to 22 Mill Street, Wincanton. It's the installation of 5 conservation-style roof lights to the rear of the property. You probably know this property as well, which is double-fronted property on the right-hand side going down the hill. There's a kitchen at the back of the building, which has a double eave, and they want to put 2 roof lights, 2 on either side, conservation style, so they're very low profile. You don't really see them anyway, but I mean, there's no one to really see them by the look of it. And also the utility room that's attached to the back of that kitchen going further into the garden, 1 similar roof light on that roof as well. From a eco kind of point of view, they'll be using less electricity if they're using roof lights, because it obviously, I've seen pictures, interior pictures, and it's quite dark. I can see why they'd want to do it. It is a listed building again. It doesn't seem to, I don't think it seems to would have much impact on it, and they're not ripping down anything of sort of historic value or anything. So I don't know. I mean, anybody else have a view? Councillor Tudgate?
I think we should recommend approval, and I would like to propose that we do so.
Did you want to, sorry, Councillor Vagg, was that?
I was going to agree with that. Okay. And I was just going to say that I lived in the oldest building in town, number 7 Church Street.
Yeah.
And even though that was nearly 500 years old, they still allowed them to put a Velux window in the roof at the back where it couldn't be seen from the road. So I don't see that they wouldn't anymore.
No, people need to live in these houses as well as admire them. So. Okay, so we have a proposal to accept this application from Councillor Tudgate. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Vagg. And could we have a vote, please? So that's Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelburne-Barrow, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Tudgate and Councillor Walters in favour of this application and accepting it. Thank you very much. The third item, 4C, is 18/03414/REM Reserved Matters, and this is land adjoining Barrington Hospital, Dancing Lane. This is kind of vague, but it's additional information in relation to surface water drainage and objections. Now, I took the liberty of asking an expert, and Councillor Tudgate did give me his view, which is handy. It looks like well, actually, would you mind, Councillor Tudgate, saying what you actually said to me today? Would that be right?
Yes, certainly, Chair. I mean, the outline plan and permission has been granted for this site, so we cannot, in reality, prevent the houses being built. These are what I would consider to be technical alterations to the original planning application, and I think we should, as a council, I mean, we had a similar reserved matters application a couple of meetings ago, and we recommended that we make no comment. It is worth noting that since the transport plan was produced, the 58A bus route has been taken away. Whether that is sufficient, I don't think that would be sufficient grounds to prevent the development going ahead, even if this had happened at the early stages. So I think we should simply say no comment. I mean, as you're aware, we're only recommending anyway. Whether they listen to us or not, SSDC is perhaps another matter. Yeah. But that would be my view at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Tudgate. Yes, Councillor Shelburne.
Although I agree in principle with Councillor Tudgate, my only concern, having read through the objections and the neutral comment, is mostly about the environmental impact on trees and sufficient landscaping. So although I agree we may not have a comment, do we not have a responsibility around saying that we'd like to ensure that wherever possible the natural environment is maintained?
I'm inclined to think that we should mention, because a lot of these comments, there are 7, as you pointed out, 6 of them are objections. The most recent being the 24th of March. So they are still ongoing. I don't think a lot of people have seen it as a done deal. And obviously they live there and they are not prepared at this stage to say, oh, well, that's it then. So people are still extremely concerned. And as you say, most of these comments center around ecological, environmental issues.
Yes.
I think it would be worth, I think the transport aspect and the sort of increased traffic is one thing, but that's often unavoidable. But I think one can always mitigate any damage towards ecological sort of sites. So I think we should mention it. I don't know how we want to word it. I mean, there's one comment that is asking for a 10-meter wide buffer zone and a 1.8-meter high fence along the northern and eastern boundaries. Otherwise, the building is too close to woodland and foliage. So I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Rather than putting in those, there's value with those comments because our residents feel that that's important to them. Maybe we just ask that the ecological impact has been fully assessed, and as many trees are protected, and with that wildlife, with the through with the establishment or implementation, whatever word it is, of the build of those 34 houses. Because for me, it's not for us to decide. I think it's people, learned people, who know about the environment and know about protecting trees and nature and insects and so forth. If we're assured from what they say, then I think as a council, that's all we can ask for, isn't it? So if we could ask for that.
I think it would be I think it would be good if somebody could answer some of these very direct questions that some of these residents are asking. I mean, just directly answer them. They're not general moaning. People have actually got very specific points to make, and there's no reason why they couldn't be specifically answered by the developer or SSDC. So I would ask them to do that. I'm prepared. I think I agree with Councillor Tudgay that we should have no comment on this, but I think we should say as a council that we think residents in the area should have their specific questions answered.
Yes.
And I would ask those residents who did make these comments to pursue these questions through SSDC and get back to us or them if they haven't heard.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Thank you.
I propose that. Did you propose?
I didn't propose anything. No, I mean, okay. You're proposing for a no comment with that proviso on the end of it.
Yes, that residents who were submitted a concern have received a response to their questions.
Yeah, specific answers to specific questions. Well, I would second that. And could I have a vote, please? So I have Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Bagg, Councillor Walters, and Councillor Tudgay. That's 5. Thank you very much. And that's it. That's all 3. Next planning meeting will take place on the 10th of May. And that's it. Anybody else got anything they'd like to add? Or Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow.
Councillor Thomas, can I ask that you speak with our Deputy Clerk to ensure the minutes are typed and the responses sent to the Planning Department, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, that's not a problem. All right. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody.